Hello everybody and welcome back to art. Mr. Burr here with another art lesson for you. Hope you guys will enjoy this one. Today we are going to be using our watercolor palettes. Okay, so what you're going to need for today is you're going to need a cup of clean water and a cup of dirty water. Doesn't really matter which one, you just need to decide that beforehand because we will be using clean water and then the one to wash your brush off, which is the dirty water. You will need a pencil, your sketchbook, okay, get some ideas down first. Definitely going to need some paper towel for wiping off our brush. As you can tell, I've already used this one before. And if your packet came with one of these blue brushes, okay, that can definitely come in handy, but I cannot remember if 3rd through 5th got one of these in their packet or not, because there were some mess ups with some of the shipping, so we'll have to check that out. If you didn't get one, no worries, you can definitely do this project with just the brush that comes inside of this packet right here, okay? So not to worry. You will be needing your watercolor paper. Okay, this watercolor paper is bumpy. Okay, so remember that bumpy side is the side that we are going to be using. You will also be using a little bit of scissors here because for this project, again with watercolor, we do like to work a little bit smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to fold this guy in half. Okay, I'm going to fold it in half, just like this. Now, if you want to work really small and have 4 different watercolor pictures, you can fold it again and do really small ones, okay? Or you can do a little bit bigger one, all right? I'm gonna go ahead and do this just one time and see how it works, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it in half, okay? I'm gonna unfold it so I have this line right here. If you have a ruler and you'd rather just draw a nice light line, you can do that, but what we're gonna do is go ahead and take our scissors and we're gonna cut our paper in half because we got small brushes, so we're working a little bit smaller, okay? So I have one piece of watercolor paper ready to go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side because I don't need it quite yet. Now with your sketchbook, okay, this is here for you to be able to put down all of the ideas that you want for your projects, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do some thumbnail sketching like we know, and I'm just gonna go ahead and break this one piece of paper up into maybe 2 different drawings just so that I have a better idea of what I want. I might do one of these a little bit more landscape, right? Okay, so that's horizontal, side to side. Okay, and then I might do one where it's up and down tall ways, okay, which we know we call this vertical, all right? Okay, because it goes up and down this way, vertical or portrait, okay? So I have a thumbnail sketch ready here, and I got another one down here, okay? Now notice how my boxes are kind of sloppy. Guys, this is okay because it's just some quick sketching, okay? So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of quickly get some ideas down of a landscape that I'm going to be using for my picture shortly here with watercolor, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the video as I go ahead and quickly draw some ideas for you guys to maybe if you want to copy off of, but again, just a couple of lines here or there to get a general idea of what you want, all right? All right, so as you can tell, I have drawn quickly here a landscape that is horizontal, okay, more of a desert scene, okay, got some rock cliff edges in the background, okay, so it's my background. I have a middle ground with these rock cliffs here, and then in the foreground I have like a tumbleweed or a bush with a cactus kind of sticking out right here, okay, general idea. Then I did another one right here, okay, this is my vertical portrait style, okay, still a landscape, okay, but it's not landscape oriented, it is vertical, up and down. And I did a palm tree coming in from the foreground right here, it's coming off of my page onto it, and then I have kind of the sun right here, okay, that's going to be some colors that are going to be coming out, and then I have the background out here with the sky, the sun, and the middle ground is kind of the ocean with some of the sand, and then again the foreground is here with this palm tree, okay? So you guys can kind of take a look at that there and kind of see how I've incorporated my background, middle ground, and my foreground, okay, that we've talked about before in class, okay? Now these are just 2 examples that you could do here. You guys can come up with your own landscape, okay? Again, we are working kind of smaller today. I want you guys to be able to experiment with the way that the colors mix on the page, and you can kind of choose that for yourself here. Okay, if you feel like you want to do some more sketching, okay, flip over to the next page. You can do it on the back, okay? You can do a full page sketch if you want, all right? And you guys can kind of decide where you want to go from here, but I think I got a pretty good base of what I want to do, okay? So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and choose, I don't know, maybe the desert one, okay? So I'll just put a check mark by it so I kind of know what I'm going for here, okay? Now, I have my paper, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and get it ready. The first thing you're gonna do is lightly with a pencil, super light, okay? Draw light till you got it right. I have this right next to me, so all I have to do now is kind of copy off of what I've done here with some general super light lines, okay? Now again, you can always come in and erase with this eraser, all right? Doesn't matter how you go about it, totally up to you. I'm lightly drawing because I don't want to press too hard, and if I make a mistake, it's going to be really hard to erase because watercolor is usually pretty light, okay? This is not scoop paint, right? I tell you guys that all the time. So keep that in mind when you guys are creating these things here, okay? I have some nice light line work coming in here, okay? Got my cactus coming in from the foreground right here, all right? I could do it on this side, I could do it on this side, totally up to you. I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the way my sketch had it, okay? Coming up, all right. Actually going to overlap a little bit over top of what was there before, okay? So because I drew light, I can easily go back and erase those lines where I've overlapped the cactus, showing that the cactus is actually closer to me than those mountains, okay? That's how we get depth in our artwork, okay? Very light outlines, okay? All right. Very light. Got my line work here, okay? No problem. All right, now, the next thing that you could probably go ahead and do is if you feel like you want to add some other shrubberies or, you know, if you're following along, you can add some other rocks that are kind of right here in the middle ground, okay, towards the foreground. Again, you're creating some depth. And then don't forget those clouds. You can stylize those clouds if you want. Okay, we're gonna go for a drawing a little darker to make sure you guys can see it. You guys should be drawing really light, okay? I'm drawing dark so you can see it on the video, okay? Some other clouds right here. All right. Now, I'm starting to kind of finalize these ideas with my line work, okay? Different kinds of cloud, different kinds of rocks. Now, we got quite a bit of a picture here now, okay? So the next step is to go ahead and gather the other supplies that we have. Okay, I don't need my sketchbook. Go ahead and put that away. My pencil, I'm gonna keep handy if I feel like I wanna change something before I get started, but it looks pretty good, right? Maybe clean up some of that work. If you draw light, you're not going to have it really showing through as much, okay, which is fine. Go ahead and get your watercolor palette ready. Okay, I don't need my scissors anymore. Okay, so with watercolor, as we know, we always work from the background first because it's further away. You don't want to smear your hand working from the bottom up because as you go, this is all wet, you'd be smearing on your way. We're going to work from the background, then to the middle ground, and then to the foreground, okay? Now with watercolor, as we know, we work with the lightest colors first, okay? So if I'm gonna go ahead and do a blue color, that's fine because it's in my background. I wanna do a light blue color first, okay? So it doesn't really matter which one is which because they're both clean right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and get my water kind of going here on my brush, wet the brush, figure out what color you want, okay? You can touch, bring it over and mix, right? So I can touch water, touch my color, and bring it into my palette and figure out what kind of color that actually looks like, right? Okay, so if that's the blue that I'm going for, that's great. I need to go ahead and make sure I have some over here. More water makes it a lighter color, okay? So now I've pulled it over, touched the water, touched the color, touched the palette, okay? And I've kind of mixed some over here. All right, what we're gonna go ahead and do here is clean the brush now, okay? Clean the brush I'm touching the water, touching it to the bottom of the cup. I touch here to make sure, kind of dry it, make sure it's clean, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and clean it off. Now I'm gonna touch clean water. I'm gonna paint the background with just water, okay? We've done this before. You guys know that this creates a barrier where you don't want that paint going, okay? You're preparing your work surface with just water, okay? By painting with just clean water, you're making sure that wherever the paint goes, wherever this water goes, that's where the paint's gonna go, okay? So be careful when painting that you don't get it on your clouds if you don't want your clouds blue, okay? That you don't want any of the cactus or this background stuff painted, okay? You gotta be kind of careful to go in between and around those things, okay? So I'm being careful. I've painted my background with just water, okay? Now I'm gonna touch my water, okay? Water, paint, make sure it's ready to go. And I'm gonna go ahead and start from one end and go all the way over, down around that cloud, okay? And all the way back, okay? As I'm coming, I'm going around these edges and I'm just filling in as I go, okay? Now again, oh look, I got a little bit on my cloud. If I don't want that, I can work quick with my paper towel and kind of clean it up a little bit, okay? So keep your paper towel handy. And all you're gonna be doing is pulling this blue wherever you want, if that's the color you're going for, okay? Now again, you can sketch out, create your own landscape. It doesn't have to be this desert style landscape. It doesn't have to be the beach style landscape, okay? You guys get to choose, decide what you wanted to do for your landscape painting, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the rest of this background with blue, and then I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Now notice, as I'm working from the top down, it gets dark, and then as I start running out of paint, it starts to go light, okay? That's working to our advantage, all right? If you want a solid blue color, you can always come back and touch and make sure it's solid, but I like to work where it fades kind of from a nice dark blue, and then as it comes down to the horizon, okay, that horizon line, it goes a little bit lighter. That happens naturally because the paint is starting to fade off of your brush. Okay, so I have a nice blue that has faded into a light blue. Perfect. All right, go ahead and wash my brush. Almost put it in the clean water there, be careful. Wash your brush, check your brush, make sure it's clean. Okay, and let's move on to the next color, which I'm gonna go ahead and mix a nice brownish tan, okay? So I'm gonna touch some water, touch the brown, mix it over here. Brown, remember it's not scoop paint, okay? It's gonna be a puddle. Kind of how this works. All right, now that brown is actually kind of a reddish brown when it actually comes down onto the palette. So what I'm gonna do is clean my brush really good, and I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna touch some yellow and I'm gonna mix it in, right? Wash my brush, touch some yellow, mix it in to make a nice tannish brown, okay? A little bit more tan. All right, that's a little better. Wash my brush, paint where I want with just clean water, okay? Remember, just clean water. All right, paint around all those things. No problem, okay. Again, it's gonna start fading into the foreground, okay, where I can go a little bit lighter, darker, however I want. All right. Okay. Now, clean water, already ready to go. I got my brown right here. Straight along these edges. Paint with the direction of the object that you're painting. So I'm kind of painting up, following the lines that I've put down, okay? Paint around and down as it fades away. Brown, come on in here. Alright, now as I'm painting here, again, it's starting to fade from a dark brown up here to a light brown right here. That is totally fine, okay? You can always go back, add in more layers after it's dry. You don't want to overwork your paper, okay? We've talked about that before. when you overwork your paper, what starts to happen is your paper starts to actually crumple up and forms all, it's starting to happen here because I'm pressing a little too hard and spending too much time in one spot. Okay, so I'll show you. If you're working a little bit too much in one area, you'll start to see all these little things start showing up. Okay, all of that is actually pieces of paper that are starting to rip up from going over it too many times in one area. So I'm showing you right now, if you spend too much time in one area, all of those little bubbles start showing up. That's actually paper ripping, so be careful, okay? You don't want to do too much in one area. So let it sit, let it dry, okay? You can always come back with a darker color if you feel, and you want to go darker. All right, always come in and add in darker color if you wish, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, paint a little bit of this color back in here. See what works. Added some yellow directly over top, okay, to lighten it up a little bit. Again, you don't want to spend too much time in one area. It will start to crumble, okay? It's watercolor paper. It can hold water, but if you're too rough with it, a little too much in one area, too much water sometimes can do that. You're gonna have to let it dry and come back to it later, okay? So mixing the correct color the first time is probably your best bet to be able to not overwork your paper. Okay, I'm turning it a little bit tan. All right, we're gonna go back and fix this kind of stuff a little bit later. Some of your pencil lines, it's okay. We're gonna go back and probably go over them a little bit later after the whole thing dries with a fine tip Sharpie, okay? That is if you want to do that. That is a finishing touch, more of a stylizing thing that if you feel like you want to do, you can do that, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and go over these rocks. I'm gonna pull some of this color, okay? Pull some of this color down. So water here, pull. Water, just clean water. You can make that go a little farther. Sometimes you don't always have to press. All right, pretty good base now for some of my bigger colors in the area. I'm gonna go ahead and get busy with this green cactus here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some green over here. So water, touch the green, pull it over. Water, touch the green. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it over, okay? I'm gonna wash my brush. I'm actually going to add a little bit of yellow. I'm going to go with a lighter color green first. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and come in here and directly paint green. Make it really bright lime green. So adding yellow to that green is going to lighten it up quite a bit. If you want to go straight for the green, you can do that, but I added yellow to mine to make it a little bit lighter, and you can always go darker. Okay, so in fact, after I do this right here with this light green, I'm going to go back with dark green over top of it here in a little bit. So now that I have green, painted, starting to look like a little bit more of a landscape with a background, a middle ground, and a foreground. Okay, so wash my brush. I'm going to go ahead and touch a little bit of green here. Check it out. Come up along some of these edges maybe. Add in some of these highlights. Some of it might be a little darker, some of it might be a little lighter. Boys and girls, this is a stylized landscape, okay? Very bright colors, very exaggerated features, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and work on this a little bit longer. Might speed up the video, we'll see here. And I'll get you guys here in a little bit. right, boys and girls, so as you can see here, after you've gone over it a couple of times, sometimes a little too much, you get that paper that's wanting to tear up kind of across all the way around, okay? So it's very important that you don't overwork your paper like Mr. Burr just did, okay? Even I make mistakes here. So what you can do is carefully, either with your finger, after a little bit that it's dried, you can sometimes flake it off, okay? Or even with a paper towel, very, very gentle. You can take a paper towel on your finger and you can gently swipe it away off to the side, okay? Very gentle. I'm barely brushing it off, okay? Not very much pressure at all. I'm not putting any pressure. I'm letting the paper towel do all the work. And then you can actually get a dusty kind of look because it's smearing away all of that paper that was tearing up as we went, okay? All right. Now, the next step is using that fine tip Sharpie, which I'm sorry I forgot to tell you you're going to need at the beginning, but I just remembered, is after the entire picture has dried, you can choose at this point, if you want, okay, go in with your fine tip Sharpie after the whole thing has dried, and you can come in and carefully outline your pencil lines. Okay, now this does a couple of things. Number one, it really pops them out from your background. Okay, if you had some other colors, you can use the black contrast of the Sharpie against that background to really pop it out. And number two, the other thing it does is it creates that barrier for the viewer, okay, so that they can really distinguish between them. So it's that contrast, yes, it's a stylizing thing, okay, you can finishing touch, right? Some people like to leave it as just a painting. You know me, as I usually do myself. I always give you the option, because this is a style as a lot of kids books, illustrators, comic books, cartoons and stuff like that. You can see how it really brings it out from the background, okay? So again, your choice. You can go in and kind of do all of these lines, the finishing touches with your fine tip Sharpie, but I would wait until it's all the way 100% completely dry, okay? If you go while it's still wet, it's going to tear up your paper even more. So I'd be just very gentle, very careful as you're coming around. Make sure it's 100% dry before you start going in there with a fine tip Sharpie, because it's very, very fine tip, which means that if you go in while it's still wet, it's going to start tearing your paper, and all that hard work you did, you're going to be very sad that it's gone. Okay, so make sure that it's dry all the way before you go in and do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let this dry really good, and then I'm going to come back and finish out the fine tip Sharpie. All right, so I'm also going to link a couple of other videos for you guys, probably one other video of maybe doing the palm tree that I didn't do. Okay, I'm going to do a speed painting of the palm tree. Okay, might change it up a little bit on the other page that I had. All right, so keep an eye out for that, as I will post that on the YouTube channel, as well as some of the K4 through 2nd graders. I did a watercolor project with them, and feel free to kind of look at those, and if you get excited and you want to try that, maybe with your brother or sister, go ahead and do that, okay? So we got a couple of pieces of watercolor paper, and I'm allowing you guys to kind of experiment with another piece of watercolor paper if you would like to try this project again, or if you would like to try the K4 through 2nd grade project, okay? Go ahead and feel free to do that. All right, so keep an eye out for the videos on my YouTube channel, linked on the specials website, and I will see you guys next week, okay? So have fun, do some art, have a great week. All right, bye-bye.